Well, the most difficult stuff with Creed is there's a lot of isolated, clean guitar stuff. If you miss one single note, everybody in the world's going to hear it. And a lot of intros where it's just me, nobody else, nobody's singing, nobody's playing. There's no bass. It's just a finger picked, clean part. That to me is way more challenging than the fastest of solos because you have everything going on. Hey, this is Mark Tremonti, and you're on the record with Ultimate Guitar.
All right, Mark, good to see you again. Thanks so much for taking the time to chat with us. Always a pleasure. So, you got a new solo record coming out. I guess that would be the next thing coming up. You've had a super busy year. So, starting next year off with another busy year, I would imagine, with a new solo record coming out on the 10th of January.
Yes, sir.
Can you tell me a little bit about that record? What was your mindset going into that? What did you want to accomplish with this solo record? I know each one's kind of an evolution in your solo journey.
Yeah, no, just always trying to outdo the last record, and just putting your best foot forward. The only thing I ever think about when it comes to putting an album together is making sure it's a dynamic record. So there's um, different flavors, different colors throughout the album. So it's not just a heavy record, not just an atmospheric record, just a mix of everything.
So I got a chance to listen to the record over the last week or so. Some phenomenal stuff on there, some great guitar playing as we would expect, but also some great singing on there. Is there a song or a riff or a solo that you're most proud of on this record or most excited for fans to hear?
Gosh, I mean, we've released 4 songs already, but from the stuff that people haven't heard, I'd say "It's Not Over" is probably one of my favorite tracks that we haven't released yet. The final track, "All the Wicked Things." As far as lead guitar stuff, I love they're all my babies. I love all this stuff. So I don't want people to just listen to individual songs. I want to take it from start to finish.
I really love the song "It's Not Over" as well. I'm hearing a little bit of Sinatra in there, and that's not surprising given some of the other stuff that you've been doing. Is was that a conscious choice, or were there some times where maybe you were writing stuff and singing, and then listening back and thinking, "Oh man, I can see a little bit of Sinatra in there."
Well, I'm just not straying away from the lower register of my voice. It's something I used to kind of hide from, and I don't think anybody likes to hear their speaking voice. When they sing, they don't want to hear themselves. Everybody's trying to color their voice so they sound like somebody else. But I finally got over that. Doing the Sinatra thing made me embrace the lower registers of my voice, and now I tend to appreciate it more because it's your actual voice and not just screaming or screaming outside of my range, which I do a lot on this record. But the times that I don't, I enjoy it.
Yeah, there's some heavy stuff on this record. I've always had a lot of respect for guitar players who are obviously very talented at playing guitar, but I feel like singing when you're playing guitar adds another level of complexity to it. Is there some advice, or was that something that you had to work through when you were kind of learning to sing and play guitar?
Yeah, it can be difficult. That the toughest part for me now is relearning all the stuff and being able to get ready to perform them live. Because sometimes you get into the studio and you might layer a vocal where you didn't necessarily have one when you were rehearsing the song. Sometimes if there's a part that's just too complicated to sing and play at the same time, I'll switch roles with Eric and say, let me do your part, you do mine in this one section. But mostly plan on recording things that I can do live. But there have been a couple moments where I've had to switch roles. Like in Alter Bridge, I had to do that on the song Waters Rising, where Myles took my part. Because after we recorded that song, that's when Myles was like, "Hey, why don't you sing this one?" So I hadn't planned on singing and playing that one, so we had to switch roles.
That's got to be pretty empowering to have a guy who's known to be a singer like Miles. Of course, he's a great guitar player too, but have someone like that kind of have you take the reins and step up to the mic. Are there some instances of that kind of built your comfort with singing?
Um, you know, it's just getting up there and doing it. You can sing at home all you want, but once you get on stage and sing in front of people, and that's really what breaks you out of that insecurity, if you have any insecurity or shyness about singing. And I love singing. I don't. I'm not ever shy about singing. Me and Miles are opposites. Miles loves to play guitar because judged as a singer, not as much as a guitar player, even though he's an incredible player. I'm the opposite. People judge me for my guitar and not so much for my singing. So now I can just sing and not just have a good time with it.
Well, they're going to get a good range of Mark Tremonti vocals on this new record. I think people will be really happy with it. I know I was. As far as gear, were you kind of relying on the MT100s and your signature PRS stuff? Was there any weird stuff that found its way onto this record?
Yeah, I'd say it's about 80% MT100 and my SIG guitar. And then I had the RK100 layered in there a little bit, the Cornford RK100, which I bring into every studio session. It's just a great tracking amp. And then I had a Dumble, a Dumble overdrive special that I used for some of the clean and overdriven stuff.
And you've got a few Dumbles, don't you?
Yeah, I'm a Dumble collector. I absolutely love them. They're I think the best pieces of artwork in the amp world ever created.
So you might be the best guy to ask this. Do you feel they're worth the price tag that a lot of people put on them when we're talking about vintage guitars and boutique stuff?
Well, I mean, the way I look at it is if you already have one, as the prices go up, and you can just trade from there on. If you're in it if early enough, you're fine. But if you're just diving into it now, it's almost impossible for almost every person to be able to grab one because they've gotten so ridiculous. But that being said, if it depends on each person's situation, if it's the one thing in life that you've always died to have, um, it's you either buy a fancy car or you buy a Dumble. The Dumbles to me are just a beautiful, inspiring, thing that will bring so much out of you. So to me, I'd much rather have that than any other material thing.
What is it about the Dumble that makes it such a great amp for recording for you specifically?
Well, I think the cleans are the best cleans in the world. I've never heard a clean as good as a Dumble amplifier. And the overdrive, when you push the first gain stage on a Dumble, um, the overdriven tones you get are some of the classiest ones I've ever heard, and that's kind of what I took most advantage of, is that little bit of overdriven tone for something that's not necessarily perfectly clean or heavy. That was my Dumble tone that I would use on this record. So for example, like the verses of Now That I've Made It, that's a Dumble.
So I spoke with Myles maybe a month ago or so. He was talking. You guys might be doing some recording next year for Alter Bridge. Is that still on track? Do you have some stuff written?
Yeah, we were off in between tours in October, and I got together in my studio and put together about 9 songs. And now Myles will do the same thing, and we'll just keep on compiling songs into a Dropbox file, share it with one another, and then in March we get together to go through all the stuff and turn it into, make do the Alter Bridge thing to it.
Does it ever become too many projects to juggle? I mean, at some point, does it become sort of a prioritization thing? And follow up, would Alter Bridge and Creed ever tour together? Do you think you'd ever pull one of those double duty kind of things?
No, we'll always keep everything separate, but right now is the busiest I've ever been, and I'd never planned for it to be like this. It's just Creed did so well this year, we just kept on adding tours. Um, but it hasn't gotten too much as long as I'm staying busy, keeping up with being able to perform the stuff. As far as being creative, I'm only focused on one thing at a time. So now that the Tremonti's record's done, I'm completely focused on the next Alter Bridge record while I'm, learning how to perform all this other stuff. I have a show in 2 days with the Sinatra band, and I have 3 Sinatra shows this week. And then I jump right back into the Creed for the end of the year, and then I jump into rehearsals for Tremonti for a couple of weeks before we head to Europe. So the toughest thing right now I have on my radar is getting back in shape for the Tremonti stuff, because it's very different from, singing the low Sinatra stuff is way different than the Tremonti stuff, and it takes a little bit of muscle memory and diving in to get that thing working.
It's amazing how you compartmentalize those projects and are able to keep them all going forward at the same time. It must be a bit daunting at times.
Yeah, when I was looking at the end of this year, months ago, I knew it was going to take a lot of work. It's while I was on tour on this last tour with Creed, every day in the dressing room, I would just be singing the Sinatra stuff and going through that and working out whatever new arrangements that need to be worked on. And now that I am down to my last three Sinatra shows, I'll start switching gears. I can't start practicing singing the Tremonti stuff until I'm done with the Sinatra stuff because sometimes it'll blow my voice out and it will destroy my Sinatra shows. So I can get going on the guitar side of things now, but as soon as I think after the 21st of this month, I'll be diving in vocally to the Tremonti stuff.
I've spoken with artists about touring Europe these days. You kind of mentioned touring Europe. I've noticed that Creed has some shows next year, but not in Europe yet. I don't know if that's something that's on the horizon. Has it become more difficult to bring your act to Europe, either on the Tremonti side or on the Creed side? I know they're kind of maybe different size shows that you're putting on.
Oh, with Tremonti, Europe is our base. That's where we've toured the most. Same with Alter Bridge. Europe had really embraced Alter Bridge to begin with, so it became kind of our stronghold for everything outside of Creed. Whereas Creed was the opposite. Creed never really did much touring in Europe, so I have no idea what the turnouts would be over there, and maybe one day we'll see. But for now, it's we've done three tours scheduled here in the States with Creed, and that's all we've done so far.
Yeah, I think they were specifically kind of referring to like the Brexit thing and things being more expensive, trucks being more expensive, and
Oh yeah, that was definitely difficult. Yeah, because I don't know how much people like to get into the business side. When you schedule a show 6 months ago and then all of a sudden one currency drops and goes up, and one day you're being able to afford your crew, and then the next day you're not because the currency dropped, or it's those little things that you don't think about when you're learning how to play the guitar.
it's the ugly business side that we don't maybe like to talk about, but it's important in understanding why some bands maybe don't tour Europe as much, I would imagine.
Yeah, I mean, there's those situations all around the world, but Europe is really a great place to go no matter what, because it's if you have to make your show smaller to afford to go over there, I would do it because the fans are just you don't need the fancy lights, just go out there and play and they'll love it. Incredible fan base over there. It's one of the most healthiest rock fan bases in the world. I think South America and Europe are two of my favorite places to play.
So I loved seeing you with Creed. We were talking beforehand. I got to go on the boat and see you guys play for the second time, and it was just incredible. You guys sound amazing. Is this something that's going to continue? Will there be new music? I guess is the biggest question.
Yeah, well, as far as the boat thing, we plan on doing that pretty much, hopefully every year. And as far as new music, I know we've always talked about it, but I think we all understood that after being gone for 12 years, people just want to hear what they're familiar with, get back out there, get reacquainted with everybody, and then when we come out to the next round of touring, which will be after the Alter Bridge cycle and after Scott does his solo stuff, then we'll hopefully get some new music out.
I know you probably had to go back and relearn and rework some of these songs and figure out how they worked after not playing them for so long. Was there a song in the Creed catalog that is a little more complex than it seems on the surface for us listening to it?
Well, the most difficult stuff with Creed is there's a lot of isolated, clean guitar stuff. A lot of if you miss one single note, everybody in the world's going to hear it, kind of thing. Where it's just a lot of intros where it's just me, nobody else, nobody's singing, nobody's playing. There's no bass. It's just a finger picked, clean part. That to me is way more challenging than the fastest of solos because you have everything going on. So even if a part seems simple and straightforward, a lot of times when you're standing in front of an arena full of people and it's just you with a spotlight, sometimes it gets a little nerve wracking. Like One Last Breath, that finger style verse. When it's just you and all those people, you got to make sure make sure your guitar's at the right height and you're ready to go.
Yeah, I mean, I grew up with Creed, obviously, and I remember the band getting a lot of hate back in the day, a lot of haters coming at you guys. Is that something that shaped you as an artist or something that you were able to grow from?
Yeah, I mean, it was. Yeah, after a while, you just kind of realize, if you want to be in a band where it got as big as Creed did, there's going to be people that love you. There's going to be people that hate you. No matter, look at all the biggest bands in the world. Look at especially pop artists. If it becomes a household name, there's going to be people that hate on it, and you got to take the good with the bad. Um, would you rather, sell tons of records and have people come at you, or sell no records and have everybody love you? You got to see. And I got to see both sides of that when we started Alter Bridge. When we started Alter Bridge when we had gotten into a few records, we got a lot of critical praise, and but we weren't selling the millions of records that Creed was. So I got to see what it feels like on both sides, and um, yeah, I mean, I'm glad I've gotten to experience it all. I wouldn't be here if it weren't for those early Creed days.
Well, it was really cool to see you guys come back. I would imagine that was an intense first couple shows for you guys, but everything's going well. Everything's moving forward. I would imagine we'll see some more tours from you guys in the future after what's planned in 2025.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we everything is perfectly healthy. The fans are coming out in force, so we, as long as people want to see it, we'll do it.
So, what are you using? It seemed like you were using a lot of your signature stuff. Scott was kind enough to kind of take me through some of your rig that you had on the boat. And there was one guitar on there that had I think it was a Hell's Angels sticker or something. And I'm told there was kind of an odd story about how that sticker came to be on that guitar.
Yeah, we were playing a show in Seattle, and my tour manager said that the Hells Angels guys were all coming out and just kind of let them do their thing. And when I was warming up right before the show, this guy and his girlfriend came in the room, and as I was warming up, he just kind of sat next to me and put the sticker right on the guitar as I was warming up. And it's just one of those. And that was way back early in our career, so it's just that guitar is just we call it HA.
And I saw you had Dime out there as well, which is probably also for a sticker that's on the guitar and also one of your heroes. So.
Yeah, that one. We were playing a show at House of Blues shortly after Dime had passed, and there was a fan that was going through the line handing out all these stickers, and it got to me, and I just you know so we're all so emotional at the time about him passing, and I just put that sticker on my all time favorite guitar right there in the middle. So that's probably the guitar I'm most known for playing over all these years, and it's cool as Vinnie Paul had approached me at I forget where we were, maybe at Nam, or I forget where it was, and he was just like, "Hey, thanks for putting my brother on your guitar, man. It means a lot." So it was cool that he even knew that.
It's very cool. We all owe a lot to Dime, of course. So, what's the most valuable piece of advice you ever got as far as songwriting goes?
I never really got any advice songwriting, but I would say the most valuable piece of advice you could give guitar players is be a songwriter, write songs, be creative. I know a lot of guitar players that are just fantastic players, but a lot of these great players don't have bands or don't have careers outside of just shredding at home without writing songs, writing music. So if you really want to do this professionally, got to be creative, be a songwriter, learn how to write vocal melodies. That's probably the most important thing about writing a song, not just playing the guitar itself, but being creative and putting a song, learning how to arrange a song and how to sing a song, and not being shy about it. Just go and pour it out there.
So, another guitar that you had on the boat was that Explorer style one. And I know we've talked about that and why it probably won't ever be a production model because the CNC machine doesn't get it. We've gotten so much feedback about that and people wanting like a custom version of that. Is that something that you would be willing to allow people to do a custom version of?
Well, it's all through PRS, and I've brought it up, but Paul's dead set against it. Like I said, you'd have to build a new wing to the factory with all these CNC machines to get this thing built, and it's just not your classic. PRS is a very classy brand. There's not a lot of pointy guitars or V's, or it's a very traditional kind of body shape. classy kind of thing, and that guitar kind of takes it out of that a little bit. But all I know is when I put that guitar on, I absolutely love it. It's one of my favorite guitars, if not my favorite guitar to play on stage.
It looks awesome, and I'm curious how you were able to maybe sway Paul. He's not a man who's easily swayed to do something that maybe he's against on some level. Was that kind of a battle?
No, he said, you know what? If you come up to the factory and draw it with me, I'll make it for you. So we got up there and got on his dry erase board, and he drew the first outline, and then I made suggestions, and he handed me the pen. He's like, okay, go draw it with me. So we drew it together, and then he had his visual engineer, whatever you want to call him, come in there, and he put it on a 3D image rotisserie where you could turn around at every angle. It's like straight out of NASA, the way they put that stuff together. But it was just super cool seeing it to come together, you know, in a 3D way before it was being made, so you can really pick it apart and make it just right.
I would imagine that's on the new solo record as well, along with your production run signatures.
I don't think I had that one in the studio. Yeah, it's that's one I play live almost more than any other guitar, but with its body shape, it won't fit in a small case, so I don't carry it around.
That makes sense. Yeah. So there's one question we've been asking a lot of people lately. Who in your mind is who are some underrated guitar players today that people should know more about?
I don't know about underrated, but maybe underknown. I first name that would come to my mind would be Shawn Tubbs. Shawn Tubbs is one of my favorite guitar players, and he's a friend of mine, and he lives in Nashville. And every solo he plays, you're just like, oh, I got to learn that. That's unique and cool. And I don't think he thinks he's as good as he is, because he's like, oh, I can teach you everything I know in half an hour. But he's incredible. I think the biggest upcoming rising star that's changing things is Matteo Mancuso. Everybody's talking about him being the evolution of guitar, and with Matteo, it's not just being technically proficient, but it's being classy and playing the right notes instead of just being able to, you know, play at the speeds and the playing as perfect as he does. Mateus Asado, Matteo and Mateus was two of the most impressive, modern day guitar heroes that I think are really just going to get bigger and bigger as the years go by. Emil Worster, another friend of mine. He's a fantastic player. He's got Verlorner as his kind of like his solo band. Fantastic player. I met him through a local friend of mine, and then he became a PRS endorser, and now he works for PRS. But I mean, there's millions and millions of great. I mean, I don't know about millions, but there's definitely hundreds or thousands of incredible players out there.
Well, you are an inspiration for a lot of those, and a lot of us at Ultimate Guitar learn to play your songs first. So, do you have anything to say to those people that maybe you've inspired to pick up a guitar?
Yeah, just keep at it. Be patient. If you follow things that you're very passionate about and you don't give up, you'll get there. I spent many years thinking I could never do things, and then a few years later, I'm like, oh, well, if I didn't tell myself all those years I couldn't do it, then maybe I would have gotten here quicker.
So, what does the future hold for you other than the stuff we talked about? I we can do this off the record too. I may have heard that there might be some pedals you might be working on.
Yeah,
Is that something we can talk about at this point, or should we wait until the proper time?
it's funny. Here's the side of it. uh, no, I've been working now for maybe about a year and a half. Uh, just kind of on some pedal ideas, but it's something that we come close on a lot of them, but I'm waiting for those specific ones to be like, all right, that's knocked out of the park. Let's put it out. So we're working on a few different designs, um, but we're just taking it slow and no rush. Just we'll wait till it's ready.
And just as you did with all your signature stuff and your signature amp, that takes a while because of all the effort that you're putting in, and we really appreciate that when it comes out, it's a great product. So thank you.
Appreciate you. Appreciate you.
All right. Well, thank you so much for the time. We appreciate you.
Thank you. Absolutely. Thank you. And see you, if not sooner, on the boat.
I hope so.